Do you know how man will end? With all the technology at our disposal today, we are able to predict a lot about the future. We can look at trends and extrapolate them far into the future. Or we can study science and make predictions based on natural laws. So with that in mind, let's take a look at how man may end. There are many different ways that man could end. We could be wiped out by a natural disaster like a supervolcano or an asteroid. But let us look at some more unique ways that humanity could end that you probably haven't thought of before. This is a story of a Redditor who goes on a trip to IKEA with his wife and kids. But when they get there, it's unlike any IKEA that he's ever seen before. The store is massive, almost like an airport with multiple terminals and concourses. There aren't any employees anywhere to be seen, and all of the products are completely free. He eventually finds other shoppers and asks one of them what's going on. They tell him that IKEA has gone bankrupt and this is the last location still standing. They're just letting people take whatever they want and go. Our hero is shocked and confused, but he grabs some stuff for his kids and leaves. On the way out, he notices a sign that says that this used to be the best furniture store in town, but now it's the worst. It's a sad ending for such an iconic company. But what does it mean for us? Well, first off, this story illustrates the importance of companies and brands. When was the last time you went to a store just because it was a certain brand? For me, it was probably even though there are generic brands out there that are just as good, if not better, than big name brands, we still gravitate towards the big names. And that's because these companies have done such a good job of marketing themselves that we trust them, even though we may not know why. In the case of IKEA, we associate their brand with cheap, well-made furniture. That's why it was so strange for the main character to see an empty IKEA without any employees around. It just didn't make sense. And the fact that everything was free made him suspicious, because IKEA is known for being cheap, not free. So when faced with something unfamiliar, we tend to revert back to what we already know and trust. This is called the principle of familiarity, and it is a powerful psychological phenomena that can help explain how humans will end. Throughout history, there have been countless new ideas that have come along that were different from what humans were used to. For example, the concept of zero was revolutionary because it allowed humans to do math in a completely new way. However, some people couldn't wrap their heads around the idea of nothing being worth zero. For them, zero was a threat because it challenged everything they knew about numbers. Similarly, the theory of gravity was a threat to some people because it challenged everything they knew about how the world worked. Not everyone was willing to accept these new ideas, and that's because the principle of familiarity can be a powerful force. It can cause us to cling to what we already know and resist change even if it is beneficial to us. In the long run, this can lead to negative consequences for humanity as a whole because it prevents us from moving forward and evolving. In order to break the cycle, we need to start by educating ourselves. We need to learn about the world around us and how things work, so that we're not so quick to dismiss new ideas. We also need to be open-minded and willing to listen to other perspectives. If we can do this, then we can start to overcome the negativity bias and work towards creating a better future for humanity. So let us say you rewatch in the news one day, and you hear that a solar flare has just hit the Earth. You might think that's pretty cool and go about your day, but over the next few hours, you start to notice that the lights are flickering, and there's a weird smell in the air. Then the news comes on and tells everyone to stay inside because there is a massive EMP attack underway. Everything goes black! You look outside and see a bright flash. You feel the heat from the explosion and hope that you survived. If that happened today, it would be a horrible day for humanity. But it's actually not that far-fetched of a scenario. You see, the sun goes through 11-year cycles where it gets more active and produces more solar flares. A solar flare is a massive burst of radiation that can mess up important systems on Earth. And the last big solar maxima was in 2014. So we're approaching another one. And while most of the time they don't do much damage, sometimes they can knock out important systems like our power grid. And that's exactly what happened in 1859 during the Carrington event. It was the most intense geomagnetic storm ever recorded. It messed up telegraph systems all over the world and even sparked some of them to catch on fire. Okay, now imagine that this happened today. The Carrington event today would cause widespread blackouts and chaos. Planes would fall out of the sky, cars would stop working, and cell phones would become useless. Hospitals would lose power, and people would die. people would struggle to find food and water, and violence would erupt. It would be a nightmare scenario, and it's not that far-fetched. So if it did happen today, it could easily wipe out a significant portion of humanity. But there's no need to panic, because scientists are working hard to study the sun and make sure we re-prepared. If a big flare does hit us, there are some things that we can do to protect ourselves. First, we need to harden our infrastructure and make sure that our electrical grid is protected from EMP attacks. We also need to have a plan in place for what to do in the aftermath of such an attack. Finally, we need to educate the public about the dangers of solar flares and what to do if one hits us. If we take these steps, then we can mitigate the damage and ensure that humanity survives. Next, let's take a look at the death of the planet itself. The Earth is a beautiful planet full of life and wonder, but it's also a dangerous place. From volcanoes to earthquakes to hurricanes, there are all kinds of natural disasters that can strike without warning and cause massive destruction. But despite all of this, humans have managed to thrive on Earth for thousands of years. We've built incredible cities and developed advanced technologies. But as the saying goes, what goes up must come down. And unfortunately, that seems to be true for the Earth as well. As the Earth gets older, it's becoming more and more unstable. Volcanoes are erupting more frequently and earthquakes are getting stronger. Hurricanes and other natural disasters are also causing more damage than ever before. It seems like every year we hear about some new disaster that's just completely leveled a city or even a country. And it's hard not to wonder if this is just a sign of things to come. So let's take a moment to appreciate the Earth while we still can. Let us remember that it is a privilege to live on this planet, and that we should never take it for granted. Let's also remember that we're not alone in the universe. There are billions of other planets out there, and we do know what kind of amazing things they have to offer. Maybe one day we'll be able to explore them and see for ourselves. But until then, let's just be grateful that we have the Earth. Now watch how world will end in 2050, or check out